Well, I'm joined now by Dr. Stephen Barber. He is a political economist from London South Bank University. Thanks so much for coming in. Great relief we saw from the financial markets early on. Collective sigh of relief. Is that relief premature, though? Because this is a deal, as we've heard, it's still got to get through Congress.
It has. I mean, there are still some legislative hoops to go through. And, of course, as you say, markets, or certainly equity markets, have greeted this with some optimism. Shares up, gold has fallen a little bit. But, of course, over the last couple of weeks, while we've seen something of a US sell-off in markets, they haven't really reflected the kind of worst-case scenario of a full-scale US default. So there's been some optimism that there'll be a deal anyway. But yes, you're quite right. This still has to go through Congress.
And another problem, of course, is that even if it does go through Congress, the deal is passed, everybody's happy on both sides of the House. The problem is that the rating agencies might not be so happy, and they might still downgrade the US. What issue is that going to raise among the markets?
Yes, I mean, you're quite right. The threat of a downgrade and the ratings agencies typically, when they threaten a downgrade, it's typically 50-50 of whether they actually will.
So we can't second guess them at all.
We can't second guess them in that sense. The potential downgrade is not dependent on a deal taking place, but one would have to say that provided there's a half decent deal, you'd have to be a pretty brave rating agency to downgrade at this stage. Although it's being talked up all over the place, I keep hearing at the moment, it would be seen as quite a political move, I think, given where we are in the presidential cycle. But the ratings agency had wanted something like a $4 trillion spending cut. They're seeing $1 trillion immediately and a little more to come.
Spell it out for us. What is happening in America? How is that affecting markets over here? And never mind the markets, ordinary people. Why are we so dependent on the US being able to get itself out of this mess?
Well, of course, this isn't necessarily the US getting itself out of the broader mess, which is its debt. It's getting it out of its particular political situation, which is the debt ceiling.
Yes, so the debt continues.
The debt continues. This doesn't realistically deal with that debt issue. But what we see is that markets are interdependent. This is the biggest economy in the world, with the biggest debt that the world has ever seen. And if the US debt, which is seen as the gold standard across the world, if the US defaults on that, then that has implications for the rest of the world. There's barely a portfolio anywhere in the world that doesn't have some exposure to US debt. And the implications of the US not being able to pay its bills would be that its own interest rates would go up, potentially taxes would have to go up, and a slowdown in the economy. Slowdown in the economy in the US means a slowdown in the economy in Europe as well.
Well, one thing's certain, it's certainly an exciting time to be a political economist. Dr. Stephen Barber, thanks so much for coming in. Thank you.